So here's the disc brake kit I got. I ended up getting it through a friend who's got a shop. Normally I get these disc brake kits on eBay and they're about $430, $450 or so. He quoted me a lower price, which we thought, oh cool, actually saved some money. And then this company, when they shipped it, the shipping was ridiculously high and ended up costing me more than what I would have paid on eBay. So like the whole kit cost me about $500 instead of, you know, they were quoting something like 300 and something. But so my hopefully savings of 50 to 60 bucks turned into an extra expense of 50 to 60 bucks. So whatever, it is what it is. So this is the spindle. Box came labeled with an L. They're not painted, so I'm gonna go ahead and paint them with some caliper paint. I pull these bolts out, which are supposed to hold the caliper bracket to the spindle, and already we've got issues because they don't want to freely go in. So the threads look right, but these guys look kind of boogered up on the end. I mean, obviously because I'm trying to put it in, but see, it's not smooth. So I'm going to try to, I don't know, grind this or file it or something to try to get a little more lead in to go into those. If it doesn't work out, I'm going to have to go run to Ace and probably get some grade 8 bolts this thread size. But alright, we'll see. It's not a good start, but we'll see how it goes. So these are the bolts the kit came with, and they don't want to go in. Doesn't want to start. Feels sketchy. Ah, it started. Maybe my little deburr trick there worked after all. Anyway, I grabbed a factory bolt just to make sure everything was cool, and yeah, the threads and the spindle seem good, so we're all right there. It's just these bolts are kind of jacked up, so let me deburr this one and then thread it through there. There it goes. Alright. They were just boogered up on the very end. So took that off, the grinder, deburred it a little bit, got a deburr wheel on that side, giving it a little taper, and now it's threading in fine. Or is it? It seemed to get tight all of a sudden. Yeah, it'll be alright. Alright. Let me go paint everything up. Alright, how these go on there if you lose the instructions, because the instructions will tell you. But you see how this side's got a nice flat, and then this side's recessed. So this is the side the bolt and washer is going to go through. This is the side that's going to mate up against the spindle. So I'm going to go ahead and just finger tight this guy on here. Alright, this is something I've screwed up before and will cause a lot of frustration. You think to get ahead, you know, you put the lower ball joint in place and then you're going to put the spindle on. And this kind of has, I don't know, to me, kind of has a look like that's the back side and should go on that way. But that would be incorrect. This is actually the passenger side. This is the driver's side. So it attaches to the lower control arm, and this flat side faces outward, which is what the spindle is going to mate against. And this arm faces inward, where it attaches to the steering link. So if I put the wrong one on, it'll go on okay, until you go to put the spindle on and find out you can't get it on there. Then you're like, shit. You got to pickle fork the ball joint to pop it off, and you destroy the boot in the process. So make sure you put the right one on first. And you can see this spindle is the driver's side. It'll mate up to that surface just fine. So I don't know, these guys obviously source their parts from, you know, different vendors and stuff, because the boots are completely different. And this one's not painted and that one is. But oh well, whatever. I'm gonna go paint this one and then start putting the driver's side spindle on. Alright, when I started putting the nut on the upper ball joint and got it as tight as I can get it, the holes for the cotter pin wouldn't line up, and I'd have to move it so far I couldn't get it. So anyway, no matter how hard I tightened on it, I couldn't get it to move anymore, mainly because the spindle's just, you know, flopping around. So I got the lower bolts in here, so now the spindle is attached to the lower ball joint, which is attached to the lower control arm. So now it's all nice and sturdy. So now I'm gonna get in here. Now I can really put some force on this nut and get it to move over enough to get the hole to align. Alright, so these shocks are a little cheaper than buying the adjustable shocks. I thought they were adjustable shocks, but they're not. These are actually 90-10, like they're set to 90-10 and that is it. There's no street use. Right there, not for street driving. So I'll put the price I paid for these. But alright, well, I guess they're a little cheaper than I thought they would be, and that's okay. I need to save money right now anyway, so we'll go ahead and throw these in. By the way, I bought these too. These are the lower bolts that hold the shocks on to the lower control arm. So the bolts that were in the car were some hodgepodge stuff, so I went ahead and sprung for these. Part number C-8110. So we'll throw these on. Alright, same thing like the other side. For whatever reason, however they machine these threads in, it doesn't have a very good lead in, and they don't want to thread into the spindle. So, no big deal. I'm not going to force it. I don't want to mess it up. So, we'll hit it with the grinder and the deburr wheel and we'll get it to feed in okay. And voila! Good to go. Remember I told you the lower control arms are different brands? I was looking at this and I just realized this is like a plastic protective cover or something. I don't even know if that would go on. Yeah, it wouldn't even go on. So, kind of freaked me out for a second. I thought, was that on the other side? Did I leave that in there? The other side didn't have that. I didn't leave it in there. So that's good. Here's a mistake I made one time. These upper ball joints, some of them, they have like a little ridge there, right? And with that on there, it seems like the washers should go in there. And I actually made the mistake of putting it on like that, and then putting the spindle, and then putting the nut, which is wrong. If you can't imagine, if it's not obvious to you, this washer does not go over this taper, so that prevented the spindle from going up onto this tapered area of the upper ball joint properly. So that could be kind of disastrous for alignment and stuff. So be sure you put the washer and the nut underneath the spindle. Okay, we got the lower ball joint ends tightened down, cotter pin in place. Got the upper ball joint in, cotter pin in. It's tightened down. We got these guys tightened down, which is the spindle to lower ball joint. Now something else I want to do is, now that everything's bolted up, I'm going to go in here and make sure that the bolts to the caliper bracket and the spindle are tight. So on these dust covers, I've seen them where they rust before. Now it looks like it shouldn't rust. It looks like it's, you know, got some sort of, like it's galvanized or treated somehow so that it doesn't rust. But just to make sure it doesn't rust, I'm going to go ahead and paint these silver and throw them on the car. Alright, we're ready to put the dust shields on. So how this goes on is you got this cutout area where the caliper is. The two bolts that are holding the caliper bracket on act as like guide pins. These two big holes are for these bolts to go through. And then these three little holes are where you put the screws in to hold it. If I'm cleaning windows on a car that doesn't run yet, you know what that means. It's time for stickers. Alright. Iron Horse Garage. William McMillan. Iron Horse Garage LLC at gmail.com. Phone number. Check these guys out. They do cool stuff. I just watched the video they did today, and they're making this really cool ramp to load a side-by-side onto a short bed pickup truck. And bam. Hey guys, thanks for the stickers. I appreciate it. I owe you some. I'll be sending them soon. Alright, now I gotta figure out a spot. I think these are too big for the quarter glass. We'll have to check the back window. Bam. I think it's in a good spot, guys. Looks cool. So, this is the only Coronet Deluxe that I've ever seen in real life. The Deluxe is actually the bottom of the line strip model car, and the trim is missing. I put out, it was on Instagram, maybe on Facebook too, a post basically asking if anybody had this trim. And a few people checked for me, which I appreciate, and some time went by, and then this guy, Jesse Honel, I think it's pronounced Honel, H-O-N-L, he reached out and asked if I wanted to sell the trim off the back of my car because he's missing one piece. So he's got a Deluxe too. I said, no, I don't think so. I want to keep the trim on it actually. And then he found somebody selling, or somebody that had the trim. So he bought the trim for the whole car and asked if I wanted to buy the fender trim, and I said, hell yes. So there's the fender trim. So I'm pretty stoked. It's impossible to find trim for these Deluxes. I don't even know if they make them in like the sedan or the two-door version. I assume they do, but maybe not. Maybe it's just a wagon thing. I don't know. Anyway, I just gotta figure out the clips for these, and I'll be able to clean these up and pop them back on the car. So Jesse, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You're a lifesaver, man. This is freaking way cool. See, this one's, he told me they were tweaked. This one's a little tweaked. I'm not too worried about it though. I got a guy that can straighten this stuff, so. Anyway, that's all I have time for, the wagon. So this will be something we pick up down the road.